hey, replaced my roof 5 years ago, it was $10,000. How is it 20 now? Like, do you see that in this market? Did it affect Monarch in any way?
I can help anybody is to really simplify your mission. Our mission is customer acquisition.
If you would start over today, like if you would lose everything and start from scratch, brand new company, anywhere in the United States, would you do the same, or what would you do different?
Only 3 years ago when I started this journey for the private equity, I didn't believe in it. Now I'm like, that's it, that's the way I feel.
Let's talk about your 4:30 club. I want to know, how did you come up with the time? Why it has to be in the morning? Why cannot be afternoon?
So I will always want to replace myself. Don't blame anybody, look in the mirror and create a process to fix the problem.
Martin, you just interviewed the person. How did it go?
Outstanding.
Outstanding. You got hired again? What position? What was that in?
CSR. So inside sales position.
Okay.
I run a lot of inside sales.
So what's your ratio right now? How many inside salespeople, outside salespeople, how they work together? Explain that dynamic.
It's a good question. So inside sales, we have inside sales and outside sales members. So the inside sales, they're responsible really it's for 1 to 2 salesmen, depending on the capacity of the outside salesman. So if you have an outside salesman that's super high capacity, they'll do we know it's all numbers, right? So if they do $5, $6, $7 million in sales, you can have 1-to-1 ratio. Because there are going to be so many leads, they can only handle.
So 2 people will be responsible for $5 million.
So now, so a CSR will be responsible for 5 to 6 million.
Wow.
So if there's, let's say we have 2 salesmen that produce 2.5, they'll have 1 for 2. But as soon as they get to 5, they have their own CSR because they have so much volume. They have 1-for-1 ratio.
Wow. So if you're around $50 million roughly, you're estimated to have 20 salespeople?
So it's a great question. So right now, it's a great question. So we visit a lot of roofing companies, like you said. Really like the roofing machine, the process, the recruiting process and our training. It really helps us to get superstars, train them properly, and put in an environment where they can maximize sales. So what that means is with 12 salesmen right now, we're doing 50 million.
12 salespeople. That's outside or inside or both?
Outside sales.
Outside sales.
And we probably have 8 inside sales right now. So outside sales,
total.
We need more outside salesmen badly. Not badly, but we're recruiting constantly.
Sure.
Yes.
12, wow.
Inside sales is mostly to help with maximizing the outside sales position. So they're doing a lot of scheduling, follow-up, answering emails, calls. They'll do a little bit, Dimitri, of sales, actual sales to do presentation on Zoom when the customer is out of town. We have a lot of second homeowner here on the coast, so that happens. But most of the time is to advance the sale forward. Whatever I got to do to make the sale go forward, I'm going to do it. So a lot of estimating that are emailed, which we don't like to do that, but they'll be responsible for this. They'll do follow-up calls, follow-up emails, introduction, and also there's an introduction text of the salesman, trying to get them as many reps in front of the homeowner from the salesman to see their picture. And also to do mailers. So they'll do a thank you card for each of the appointments.
The way I see it from outside is you're just increasing efficiency of sales guys, because in our business it's crazy. Like you'll see a lot of $50 million companies running 50 sales guys. And I still see people asking salespeople to do not only sales, but also production and everything. That's what makes them $1 million producers. Because if you have to pull permits, manage the crew, I mean, you're very limited. And your model shows what people can really do if they just move to sales, especially with the office support.
Yeah, and it all started, Dimitri, because it's never, like I learned this from business. It said never blame people for being wrong, okay? So you'll always, don't blame anybody, look in the mirror and create a process to fix the problem. So we had salesmen that would do, like you just said, they were superintendent, they would go to dump trailers in the morning, first thing at 6, and then come in, manage their job, and then manage their schedule. The biggest thing was managing their schedule was really hard. So to overcome the on-site, overcome the follow-up, because every salesman, anybody I talk to, they said, a salesman don't follow up with anybody. They don't follow. I tell them, look in the mirror, right? So you don't blame them. You look in the mirror, say, what am I doing wrong? And then create a system. So 2 positions were created at that point. We need to do 1 superintendent per job site. So every crew got a superintendent, a trailer, and a truck for the superintendent. And the second thing is to CSR per salesman back then. We didn't really know the ratio yet. That helped us tremendously to keep salesmen in front of people. So our salesmen can meet 5, 6, 7, 8 sales activities. Sales activities for us is first meeting with homeowner, inspection of the roof with an adjuster if there's a need, and there's a third with a presentation. So that's all counting towards sales activities.
Love it. Let's talk about your 4:30 club. I want to know, how did you come up with the time? Why it has to be in the morning? Why it cannot be afternoon? And why so early?
Oh my gosh!
We did it this morning, 4:30 club. I mean, I work out at 5:30 every day when I go to CrossFit, but for some reason, that extra hour, it seems like much harder.
Good. That's what we're doing, Dimitri. It's going to be different.
Why 4:30? Why not 5? Why not 5:30?
So it's a great question. So we found a gym that was open 24 hours. The closest came this morning.
Yep.
When we go to the gym at 5, I start at 5:45 to work because I'm trying to do a few things before everybody comes in. The first meeting is at 6:30. And even, as you can see, production was here at 6:15 this morning. They're ready to go because the production team needs to be out the door to go produce job by 7. The crews are ready to go, right? They're not going to wait for us. And if the crew gets to the project before we get there, superintendent gets there, it's always chaos. The homeowner's like, what's going on? What are these guys? It's not, I thought I was going to have a superintendent here. So we want to make sure they go out at the same time or before. So to make the time, like, well, we start at 5, we tried to 6, then we're here, we're running crazy, we're not prepared, we dropped some balls.
It's hectic.
So now it became 4:30 to 5:30, that's it. Then I'm here, by the time it's 5:45, 6, I'm ready, I'm taking my shower and I'm ready to go. So we don't want to sacrifice. It's an afternoon. At Monarch, that's our mindset, right? Anybody can do whatever they want. There's a lot of really great roofing companies that are successful. They do a different model, like you're mentioning. So from 7 to 7, it's prime time. You do your job, your mission. Everybody has a different mission. It's all towards one thing. And that's, if I can help anybody, is to really simplify your mission. Our mission is customer acquisition. Very simple. Every single activity that everybody's doing goes towards helping the company advance. With this mindset, it helps us because we can give back to the community. This year, we're going to give 12 roofs for veterans in needs. We use that to create fuel to really push everybody to have the mindset to help sell more roofs.
Any pushback from new hires or existing team? What do you do? Like even 6, 7 is too early for a lot of people. A lot of people would like to start at 8, 9. Is it a requirement? What do you tell the people who say, like, I'd like to sleep in, or I'm not an early bird?
So, and you're right. Like the 4:30 club, it's not everybody shows up. So it's optional, right? We don't mandatory. You have to be at 4:30. So it's for those who want to work out. So we had like 12 people this morning, something like that. So it's not everybody. A little bit is inside.
Who are the people? They were mostly sales, or you have production?
A little bit everybody this morning. We have admin with Tuesday. We had salesman. We had superintendent. Mark was there. Sales. There's Joe, the production manager. So a lot of leaders will be there. But it's not a requirement. If you don't do 4:30 club, you're not fired. Okay. So but when we hire,
but you are required to be here at 6.
6:30.
6:30.
Yeah, and salesman at 7:15, the first meeting. So we meet every day. Every production meets at 6:30 every day, and the salesman, the meeting starts at 7:15. They usually here before, meet with the CSR, go over the leads from the day before, get an action plan for the day, review the schedule, then there's a meeting.
How is this year different from last year or last few years? Do you feel that it's slowing down? Do you feel like it's getting harder to sell the roofs? We have a lot of price increases. You know, I see a lot of feedback from homeowners complaining about prices. Hey, I replaced my roof 5 years ago. It was $10,000. How is it 20 now? Like, do you see that in this market? Did it affect Monarch in any way?
It's a good question. I feel like we're blessed because we have a need, right? The roof is a need, so it's not so much a one. They have to get a new roof.
Because you have a hurricane.
Well, that too. Okay, so but this year, I hear what you're saying. I hear it all the time, and when I hear this, I like it because I'm like, okay, there's panic a little bit in the industry. You talk about this from one of the things you're doing with your fight and stuff. But if there's panic. I like it. We started in 2007, where it was the worst economy to start a business, right? So we used to get 2-3 leads a week, and then we're excited. We really are maximizing every opportunity. So our process is to build. We want a customer acquisition. If we're not going to sell a roof, the second thing is to get a referral. We got to create a system that creates referrals. That's been helping us a lot. So people at that point, they probably don't look as much, and it's not a perfect science as the numbers we're going to sell for. They want to use Monarch for what we're doing, the industry and the reputation that we have. So that's where we focus on. And to prove that, we have 4 out of 6 months this year, the first 6 months, they're a record. We never had these great months before. So it's not going down. We keep going up and up and up. And this month with the hurricane, August is going to be the best month for August for sure. So,
what other huge changes do you see this year? Obviously, we have equity money, equity firms. Do you see it truly changes the industry yet, or you feel like some guys are getting bigger and some guys going out of business? How do you? I know you also merged, but talking about market in this city. The market that you're in, how is it affecting?
It's going to be interesting for sure. We did make the decision based on facts that to create more growth. I'm very passionate about our employees who we work with. I feel like sometimes I'm not giving back enough to who works here. Like I have that chip on my shoulder all the time. These guys are working, like you said, 4:30 club, and then there on Sunday, I'm seeing text message, guys on the roofs in the blizzard, in the rain. Not the blizzard, in the rain and the bad storm. So I'm like, what am I doing to really thank them? They're special people. We hire special people, very picky who we hire. So I'm like, I got to find a way to give back and have a better opportunity for everyone. We've grown 3 locations in 5 years now. I'm like, okay, we got to grow faster than that. And I think private equity gave us that opportunity from funds, from knowledge into different, like it's business, right? We're trade sometimes. It's big business. So they're coming in like, oh yeah, you want more leads? Well, we can help you with Google. You want a better structure? Okay, let me help you out with this. They have, it's different. Maybe a higher level of sometimes of education, which doesn't make you successful, but it's very helpful for me. It helps me a lot.
On the bigger side.
Yeah, when you bring some of them, they're not going to know your process and how you do things, but they're going to help you fuel the proper path to make it easier, more organized, more KPI driven, more data driven, which I love. With data, we can make the right decisions. So I see the industry changing for that. I think the whole country is shrinking. We've seen manufacturers done it, and all this stuff. Manufacturer and suppliers have done it. I think the roofing, it's possible. I think there's going to be some failure for sure. But a few companies, we can make it work. It's going to be incredible for that.
Do you feel like it's giving roofing companies a little bit more leverage in the game? Because we have suppliers, manufacturers, and a roofing industry for a long time were, spread too thin. You have too many, we're not united. And I feel like now with some players becoming bigger, are we talking about buying power or buying leverage? Because, manufacturers would not sell, right? Like to roofing companies direct, and they keep increasing prices. What's not, they would only sell to few suppliers. Now, I almost look at these large groups as a buying groups, because now you have to treat, big company, like Vertex, for example, there's like 20 companies behind it. And now it's a different thing. Like if you lose that account, you'll lose a lot of business. That's what I like about it, because I feel like roofers were outnumbered and outpowered for so long. And now that's leveling the playing field. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's helping a lot for buying power and really there's something special, right? So why do we go to Wealth Builder for GAF? Because I want to meet contractors and actually doing it. We learn from books we read, the mistake we make, which we don't want to make that because it costs a lot of money and it's time consuming, and from other roofing contractors. With this, we're becoming into a community and we're very new at this. So I'll tell you more in 5-6 months. But right now, what I'm feeling, this is what happened. We get a lot of answers. I already traveled to another roofing company that are very successful and they just went like this, like, all right, this is all everything. This is my trade secret. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I'm gonna steal this, you know, and you do this, and our company implemented it. So that helps us on that side as far as become more efficient, cheat codes everywhere. And the second part, like you said, the buying power is very interesting. So if we became, you see, again, the Home Depot, the Lowe's, they're always going to be the smaller guys. And I think it's going to happen. You know, I think I heard you say like the neighbor that comes over and says, I want to cut your grass, you're always going to hire that person. But it becomes sometimes difficult for this because of the bigger company or having better process and a system that can really serve the customer better. I feel like the bigger we're getting, the more choice. Yeah, the more better customer reviews we're getting. It's got to be done with proper growth. I think where the people involved with this need to be doing it first themselves. Then they can show somebody to do it, and that person can teach somebody else. A lot of times when you hear those companies, they buy a lot of companies. That's how you figure it out. They don't really know the industry. I was terrified by this at first. I'm like, my gosh, I don't want to do it because they don't know anything about roofing. I'm talking to guys that have MBAs and doctorates and, you know, Harvard's very, very impressive. Don't get me wrong, but I'm like, they're going to fail for sure. But then I understood how this whole dynamic is. It's not taking over your company. They let you run your company. Just helps you to fuel it. So the obstacle is this, to be able to duplicate it to other locations. How can they do that? And I think some of those companies are figuring it out right now. And that's going to be very interesting. I think it's possible now. I didn't believe it only 3 years ago when I started this journey for the private equity. I didn't believe in it. Now I'm like, that's it. That's the way I feel.
Last question. If you would start over today, like if you would lose everything and start from scratch, brand new company anywhere in the United States, would you do the same, or what would you do different? And would you sell it? Would you build it to sell it? Would you do anything different starting from scratch? And would you pick roofing?
It's a great question. My gosh, you kind of fall into roofing or trades. I think the mindset came the same. Even now, it's always when I'm every position, and I realized this over time. So every time I'm doing one thing. So I was from the ground, like driving my caddy, right? Marty in the caddy with nothing, no money, and then trying to sell a roof, and then trying to understand how the roof gets applied. But every time I'm doing something, I want to learn everything about it and teach somebody else so I can work myself out of work. So I will always want to replace myself. So if I redo it again, I would use that pathway even more with more intensity. Like now we have cheat code for like, okay, hire a superintendent first because I can do the sales. Hire a superintendent to be on the job site with a crew so you don't have to worry about that job anymore. Done. I'm going to do more sales. Hire a CSR, great. Then I have to do the follow-ups. I can focus on the business a little bit more, and then hire a salesman. That'd be 1, 2, 3. But start over. It's a very interesting question because there's a lot of hard work that comes in through, and for when you're small business, it's crazy because the phone, like right now, I probably have, let me see, I got 12 text messages, right? So you can only imagine yours. But at 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, there's 40 text message. Yeah. You're in charge of everything. That's the hardest part. You got to get through that obstacle to grow. But never forget, for every level, there's another devil. So when you think like, all right, I get to 10 million, I'll be good. There's no such things. There's no perfect size business, I don't think. So there's always another obstacle that you have to overcome.
What's the hardest in your business right now? Like what's the devil right now at your size?
My focus is recruiting. All hands on recruiting. We have 4 people recruiting right now, full-time. That's all they do. We do a lot of interviews. We do seminars, 10 minutes interview, in-person interviews to get more people. We have plenty of leads. We have a great culture, great training. We just need more people. That's my. Is it harder
to recruit now versus a couple of years ago? Would you say it's getting harder?
It's a good question. When COVID hit, it got pretty easy for a little bit, but now it's harder for sure. And it's you mentioned that this morning. Sometimes like to find the right people, and it's so hard to find the right people to an interview, right? Things we look for is like, all right, is that person, there's 3 things. Are they talking negative about the previous boss? That's a no. I'm not hiring you. No way. The second one is no excuse. That's part of our culture, like our core values. Like if you're going to start saying, yeah, I was supposed to do it, but I didn't do it, I'm not going to hire you. And the last one is, I hear this, and it's a fine line, because you mentioned that again this morning, and your speech was awesome. You said, you didn't say that, but you talk about like work-life balance. Mm-hmm. Somebody's like, well, I'm looking for work-life balance, 8 to 5 job. This job in trades is not that. You're going to have a call at 7 o'clock. I'm not saying work a million hours. Yeah. I'm just saying there's Saturdays, there's Sundays, there's a storm now. We're all out. We have to be in. We cannot take, I'm going to take a week off and it's the middle of a hurricane. You can't do that. So this is a sacrifice, but it's also investment, I think. If you go through those hard days, if I fail to identify that you're a hard worker, you want to learn, and I'm not giving you the tools to succeed environment and the leadership or the information for you to grow, I'm failing you. You should work somewhere else. So hopefully your leadership can identify those great people and keep building them. Easier said than done, by the way. This is probably the trick of business there.
Love it. Thank you so much.